Well, build my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Longbangers in association with Leeds Spirits. I'm Mai.
Hello, I'm Colin.
Guten Tag.
V Gates.
How do you V Gates? How are
Meine
you?
Name.
V Gates.
Meine Name ist.
I don't know. I've not done that yet. I've
What's
been
V
trying
Gates?
to
Is that who are you or something?
How
That's
are
what
you?
you're doing, isn't it? Yeah, Few Gates. Or it's that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We'll leave that
I'm
one.
on the Duolingo trying to learn a wee bit of German.
Oh yeah, why?
I've wanted to learn it for quite a while, and the times that I've been over there to go to football or whatever, it's just been really enjoyable. And I think actually one of our
Stealth
listeners,
Post.
Raymond, was that?
Stealth Post.
Stealth Post. Raymond, one of our listeners, speaks a bit of Italian, and it was quite inspiring, his story. And I remember him when he was telling me about learning Italian. He learned Italian because he had Italian friends, and when he was over there, they would accommodate him. So he said, well, I'm going to kind of like return the favour by going to night school and learning a bit of Italian for the next time I come over to kind of like surprise him, impress him kind of thing. But he was telling me, and it never registered at the time, that when he couldn't remember the Italian word, he would drop in the German word, and it never registered with me. Turns out he also speaks a bit of German as well. So I was like, right, fine, fuck it. If folk are learning German, if we're just all going to be learning
If
foreign
he can do it,
languages,
anybody can do it. Is that what you're thinking?
no, absolutely not. And I thought if he
That's what
speaks a bit of German,
you say.
I could converse with him in German and just bam folk up in the boozer.
So we did German at high school, Colin.
Yeah.
And I never took it. I think I took it higher, but I dropped it partway through fifth year. I think I dropped German. But we went to the south of France when the World Cup when Germany scudded Brazil. Was it 7-0?
Was that 2014?
Yeah. So we were watching at the resort there, and the place was full of Germans, and I was about 3 or 4 pints in, and started talking to them. Obviously, the German came flooding back, or at least I thought it came flooding back, but I had no idea what I would have been saying. Oh, I just saying English words with an accent and things like that. Anyway, I didn't speak German. Not very well. Anyway, right. This is a better mood than I thought we would be in for watching, having watched the game last night.
About the football. If you're not talking about the football, it's always better, eh?
It's all downhill for you.
I know. Right, let's kick off with the starting lineup, and Colin, I'll get your thoughts on it first. Right, so we had Marshall, Miller, Fish, Levitt, Yuan, Newell, Mazian, Emiliano, Abita, Chiantis, and Rocky. Any surprises there? Anybody that you wouldn't have wanted to have started?
I don't think so. I was, and I don't know if I'm saying it with hindsight, but I didn't think Marcondes was great against Rangers. So I'm not saying I would have dropped him, but I didn't think he was good playing up front. And I think the first half again last night proved that. But I don't know if I was saying that before the game. You know what I mean? I just looked at the team and went, aye. And then I wasn't surprised Miller was back in for Cadden, because Cadden's coming back for injury, and you tend to pick up a lot of niggles if you play too much when you come back too soon. So other than that, no, I was all right with it. I was fine with Chianti starting ahead of Levitt. Levitt start? No.
Levitt started, yeah.
He did, he got subbed, aye.
Yeah.
So who did she? Oh, Maria Welsh, of course. Yeah, the Levitt came in for.
Yeah, because he was suspended. John, what about you? Any thoughts on the starting lineup?
None in particular. Just that there were enforced changes and a bit of a reshuffle in the squad to accommodate it. So I don't think Fenty never played against Rangers, did he?
No.
And I think subsequent to that, we learned that he's been in a moon boot, and there was a bit of chat about when he might be back, because I think he's spoken to some fans and said he was going to be out for 3-4 weeks. And then I think it was maybe an Observer article or a pre-match conference where Nick Montgomery had said, well, it'll depend on how high his pain threshold is. But he never played, so that kind of left us short on recognised strikers, and that's why I think Marcondes ends up front. And I think in midfield, like the players that really started to make us click when we had like a little bit of a bounce at the start of that 6-game spell that we talked about on extra time. we're missing Mariah Welsh because of suspension, we're missing Amos because of injury, and it's just like one of my main thoughts about last night was if you could shine a light on all of the good things and bad things and all of the things that could have gone wrong this season. Like I think it was captured in 90 minutes last night.
But the bench did look quite weak, I thought.
Mm-hmm. That was my first thought as well when I saw the lineup. But I thought the starting 11 was fine for me. Again, with hindsight, probably would have made a couple of changes, but when I saw it, I was quite happy. But I looked at the bench and thought there wasn't much there. John, why is it called a moon boot?
I don't know. I've wondered that myself because it wasn't something that seemed that common when folk had injuries to their feet. I think it probably came into the public consciousness first of all when Wayne Rooney done his metatarsal, or was it David Beckham done his
Beckham first,
metatarsal? And
yeah.
that was it Beckham first, and it was like there was a lot of focus, but it's never looked anything like a moon boot. Like you think about Neil Armstrong dancing about on the moon, you're like, well, that's not what boys that have done their Achilles are hobbling about in. So I don't know.
So the campaign to rename it starts here.
What would you rename it?
Dave.
Dave the Boot.
Dave. Dave the boot. Right, first half was pretty forgettable. Colin, any highlights from it that you would want to pick out?
No. It was pretty shite though, wasn't it? It was a poor. Can't even remember anything that happened.
Right. I think
there was. I don't know if they were. You wouldn't call them highlights, but they're definitely talking points. Possible penalties. Well, no, there would have only been one penalty
one of them.
claimed in the first half.
That's not highlight.
No.
Yeah, so we conceded and we had a shout for a penalty. So the shout for the penalty, let's start with that because I think that was first. Why did we not get it? Foul on Miller by look at pulled down at a corner. What? Why is
Pass the
looking at
Cholak
that?
test.
Pass the
I
St
don't know.
Mirren test as well. Do you know, like for the one that we conceded at Paisley, which I kind of hark back to every now and again, which you didn't see get given against you very often.
I'm loath to get into it too much because we had our tinfoil hats on, and even though we were stressing that we weren't conspiracy theorists or anything like that, and I wondered whether the three of us kind of egged each other on and got a wee bit carried away.
Not me.
But when you talk about those incidents, you go, well, why wasn't it? Like it's. I think the way that you phrased it on Monday was quite clever in terms of we're not saying we're conspiracy theorists as such, but it doesn't hurt to ask the question. So it doesn't hurt to ask why did it not go to VAR?
Or
in
did
general,
it? I don't know. Did it go to VAR and we never got it? That's the other one.
There was something that it was a penalty claim in the second half that went to VAR that was reviewed.
Yeah.
The handball, that one.
Yeah. Which must have been an awful long VAR review, considering how much was added on at the end, but we'll come on to that in a wee minute. The goal that we conceded, Colin, was dreadful, wasn't it?
Oh, horrendous. Absolutely terrible. Yeah. Just across in for their left-hand side, their right-hand side. And I think Marshall maybe thought Abita was leaving it, and he just kind of thought, I'll just catch it. Hit off Abita, bounced to the boy, who just fucking hit off him and went in. Marshall looked like at one point, my first view, and I thought, he's not even got his arms out. What's he doing? Like he's come out with his hands by his side almost. But I think, having seen the replay, that Abita's like he was just coming out to catch it like straight in front of him. Because it made him look fucking stupid. Like, it really did. Terrible.
John, it was the sort of goal that we thought we'd maybe moved on from. You know, the sort of one that we would concede earlier in the season, but looked like we'd sort of, I don't know, like if you would say being cured of.
I think despite how poor the first half was, like I think that we had the better of the chances. So I'd sent a wee tweet out under the alternative Hibs commentary hashtag talking about how we'd finally unlocked the 5-man Ross County defence where my leader broke through. I think I forget who it was, the fed on the ball, but he's broke through. He's had a shot at the keeper who's parried it, and then we've got like a bit of a sniff at the rebound, but not really. And then so we've had the better of the chances that were so few. The first half's been largely shit, and then there was a fairly nothing ball, but there'd also been 2 crosses that Ross County had swung in before that were pretty dangerous, but hadn't really amounted to anything. And then it just so happened that on the third one, you have an absolute clusterfuck and comedy of errors between 2 defenders and a goalkeeper. And as Colin says, he's like, Sims isn't expecting it. It just bounces off him. He's completely unaware of it until he's like, oh fuck, I've scored.
The first half performance was dreadful, right? What is it about this team, do you think, that means we see these performances from time to time? Because they crop up like we spoke about it, and again the team's changed a lot, right? But you tend to have a couple of them a season, even go back to like the Jack Ross days. We still have a couple that we draw upon for reference. But this season, there's like a theme. It's like every now and again we'll pull out at least a 45 minutes, right? And we did sort it out for the 90 yesterday, but a 45 minutes where we're just fucking honking.
It's only a month since the last one. The St Mirren game.
Yeah, but there's quite a lot of games played in that time, though.
I just think they're not good enough.
Simple as that.
I just think I just think they're not good enough. I don't think it's anybody. I think there's anything other than that. Replace some of them.
I wonder if it's a combination of factors, like the enforced changes that I mentioned at the start. And Colin, you mentioned Marcondes playing up front against Rangers and not really standing out, not really being particularly effective. So we saw that again yesterday because we've lost Mariah Welsh. Like, I think we've all acknowledged the difference that he's made to the Hibs midfield and allowing players like Marcondes to kind of sit in that number 10 who supports Venti, and it kind of like gets players all in the right positions. And we lose all that last night, so you're kind of rejuggling the squad. You're also up against Ross County, who are second bottom, I think I'm right in saying, who are battling for lots of points. And as I said, I know that formations are fluid. I know that we've talked about formations to death, but it certainly looked like they were playing with quite a few bodies behind them. So I don't think the Hibs were particularly shit. I think that we were affected by injuries and absence, and also up against a team that were kind of quite content to sit in and try and stifle the game. But to go back to Colin's point, just not good enough to break them down.
I think you're being generous, John. That's my. Ross County are awful. Like, they were awful the whole game. I mean, we'll come on to the second half. Obviously, we could have sat in after we went in front, but they offered nothing. Like, it's a couple of crosses in the box, an accidental goal almost, and then like we totally dominated. Like, you saw the second half after we changed, made the changes, and we got a foothold on the game. I thought you saw how much better we were than them, and Ross County weren't a good team. Yeah, it's like 5 points for 9 we've taken off them this season. 2 draws where they've come from behind late on to nick it. But I don't think it's a hard place to go. Other teams are managing. Like, Motherwell went there and put 4 past them. Like, it's only us that seems to think it's a hard place to go. Going on how the season's gone. I just struggle with it. Like, I can't get my head around how we can get, other than like you say, Colin, there's just no good enough. How we get a performance like that 45 minutes. But then you contrast it with the second half. So we get a half time. Levitt comes off. Marcondes drops back, and Alf comes on into the.
Miller was off for Cadney.
He went off injured. Yeah. I wonder if Miller wasn't quite ready to come back as well, and if that maybe impacted the performance.
Managed to pick up his booking.
Obviously, aye. No complaints for that one either. I mean, that wasn't like a harsh booking or anything. It just was fucking miles away for the ball. John, what do you think was behind the improved second half then?
The Fondra came on second half. I think the changes that everyone was shouting for were made, and it did make a change. There was a comment for the commentator saying that Cadden wasn't responsible for Hibs' improvement, but Hibs had definitely looked better once he'd come on, which I thought was quite an interesting turn of phrase. Cadden definitely offered something down the right-hand side that Miller doesn't, in terms of like the interchange of play, like 1-2s and kind of like running on, and you know that when Cadden gets into space that he's going to deliver a cross that you don't always get from Miller. So I think that made Hibs more dangerous. Having someone like Lefondre getting on the end of those balls was a benefit to us, because prior to that, like when I'd been tweeting about it, like I think Marcondes' first touch for Hibs was a corner in about the 25th minute or something. Like I genuinely don't remember him touching the ball before that. I don't. I made that mistake with I think I've made it before with Levitt and Triantis, where I remember at some point during the second half I went, oh fuck, Triantis is playing. I must have just missed that switch between the two of them. But I think it was maybe more getting players in the right positions, players in complementary positions. Like, and I know that begs the question, well, why did Montgomery not start with that team? But I don't know. So we're talking about Cadden there, like he never started, and I don't think he was ever intended to play, but he's got 60 minutes out of him on his return, for injury. And Lafondre, I think, is 36 and coming back from a knee injury, which is kind of like the first one that he's talked about in his career. So I think there was maybe like a wee bit of game management there for Montgomery and trying to see the team through the game. And we acknowledged it on Sunday there that we've got 3 games in the space of 7 days. Like that's going to take its toll on the team. And we're trying to get those points out of it as well.
And then we get the goal, Colin. What do you think of the first goal? Talk us through it.
So I can't remember what happened until Yuan got it, but then Yuan played a cracking wee pass through the middle of the defenders, Mizian onto it and put past the keeper. Really nice wee goal. Another assist for Yuan to cancel out the ones he causes at the other end.
It was a tidy wee finish, wasn't it?
It was a cracking wee goal. Really good goal.
It's funny. One of the things I forgot to mention before, it never occurred to me until you mentioned my leader there, was how ineffective he was in the first half, and it prompted the joke for me when I said I'm looking forward to Colin saying that he's better than my leader, which hasn't come, by the way. I'm still waiting on it.
I would
still
have
time.
I'd have probably went high in the top corner, I think, probably. But I mean, it was a good goal. It was still a good goal.
Yeah.
9 out of 10. I would have went for the 10 out of 10.
And then a wee while later, we go further in front with a good goal for Alf. John, do you want to take that one?
I had to watch it back because I sort of blinked and I missed what had happened. I sort of blinked and then Lafondre's back stick and tapping it in basically, and it was just it was one of those goals where it's really hard when you're at the game and you're watching it to understand exactly what's going on, because it's like a wee nod of the head, someone going, I'm heading, and then Joe Newell pings the ball and then Lafondre's there, and I don't know whether he gives the goalkeeper the eyes, but the goalkeeper's kind of like left rooted to the spot, and Lafondre goes near post rather than far post,
and he's a shite goalie.
And he's a shite goalie. Are you better than him?
I'll just play any man in. Any man. But it was a good bit of play before Neil put the cross in as well. They played it a bit quite nicely and then opened up the space over on the left hand side. Then Neil got it and it was a cracking ball in, like right on his foot. It was a really good goal.
We had the penalty claim for handball. Either you convinced that should have been a penalty?
I wouldn't have been, but like we've seen them given against us, so kind of then going, well, they're checking that they're long enough, maybe it is one. And then we didn't get it. And I thought, do we ever get anything that goes to VAR? Like, the boys' hands weren't that far out or anything like that. Kind of on the checklist stuff that you're meant to go do. But
remind me, is he sort of facing towards his own byline and his right hand is sort of behind him, and that's what hits him?
Yeah.
I mean, like you say, Colin, it's no one that, like I've said it numerous times, that for me penalties need to be really, really clear. Like the handball needs to be really clear. The player needs to be like side down the box or whatever. I wouldn't expect that to be a penalty, but as you say, it's been awarded against us elsewhere. So I think you've got.
Just recently, wasn't it the exact same?
I think there's an expectation with stuff like that where you go, well, it's fairly similar. You would maybe expect a penalty.
I thought it would be awfully harsh to give it, if I'm honest. I looked at
I
it.
I
you don't get a penalty for that. And then I thought, the same as you, but we've seen them. we've seen them given, just no for us. Hibs by this point had a proper foothold in the game. We were totally in control, totally dominant, looked really, really comfortable, had got ourselves in the lead. We stopped playing. I can't get my head around it. We just stopped doing all the things that we had been doing to get in that position. Started kicking the ball anywhere, making mistakes. Does this go back to what you said first half, Colin? It's because the players aren't good enough, or what else do you think is behind that?
No, it's a funny one, because I'm saying they're not good enough, but then they were good for 20 minutes. I don't know if it's like maybe it's a mentality thing, but then I don't think that comes with better players, or if it comes with changing the mentality, and that they've maybe thought the game was won. Or magic, get back down the road, stop and get a chippy somewhere, kind of on the way down, so they maybe chat a few beers and a fish supper. I don't know, like, because they didn't look like scoring again. They didn't look like letting one in either.
No.
As much as it did, but like I never felt in any danger. I was sitting watching it, quite the thing. But it was, I don't know. I don't know, when we get the chat in, don't we, for folk kind of about the new leaders in the team and all that kind of stuff. And you do wonder if you need like somebody there to be dragging them through and say this isn't good enough, like, this is shite. Maybe they are doing that, and then the other ones aren't good enough to respond to it.
Aye. I mean, you got to say Ross County play a part in it because they're trying to get back into the game, so they change how they're playing. But that was probably even as bad as the first half was, and as annoyed as I was at watching it. I think the thing that annoyed me most yesterday was the fact that we played so well, got in front, and then just stopped doing the basics. And I think if we'd kept the foot on the gas, we could have taken, a third goal, maybe a fourth goal if we keep going. Because like I said, Ross County are a good team, and we're just like, well, we'll know what ended up happening. 7 minutes injury time. John, great, your thoughts on that first. Where do you think the referees picked out 7 minutes from?
I don't know. I don't remember anything. There was obviously a couple goals in that half, but it wasn't 3.5 minutes a piece of celebrations. It's not like there was pitch invasions or anything like that.
6 second half substitutes as well. What's that? 3 minutes?
It's maybe 30 seconds each, but only if two subs come on at the same time. It's only one lot of 30 seconds. That's not a minute.
Oh no, there was 2 subs came on at once. So it's five intervals in, so 2.5 minutes.
Could I go back to the question or the point that you made before, Matty, about like Hibs stopping playing? Like I had to go and double check when Lafondre scored and put Hibs 2-1 up, and it was the 77th minute. So I'm thinking, well, I'm looking at it now, going there was 13 minutes left of regulation time, and are you saying that for 13 minutes Hibs just stopped? Because my thinking is more like Collins, that I didn't feel in any particular danger with the game. It's just that
I think it just went scrappy. Like I'll try to remember what time I tweeted, because I tweeted about it and asked the question. It doesn't tell me what time that 9:36. So whatever time this was, whichever point. So never understand why we stopped playing when we go in front. We were totally in control, moving the ball well and completely comfortable. Now we're kicking it anywhere and losing possession constantly. Just keep the heat. Is what we tweeted. That was 25-10. Is when that went out. So whatever time that would have been in the game.
10 minutes to go.
And bear in mind, I was about 5 minutes behind as well on my stream.
So I was having a think as well that I think did Marcondes come off for Hanlon in about the 90th minute?
90 plus 2.
It was in injury time.
So I'm trying to work out, like, so assuming that you're correct, like, what do you think is responsible for that? That Hibs players just not doing what they were doing before?
I think it's a composure. It's a mentality thing. Like I don't think it's a tactical thing. I don't think Montgomery's told them, "Come up, boys, can you stop passing the ball to each other and just start panicking?" Like I can't imagine that's an instruction. It didn't look like we set up to sit in deeper, but we stopped doing all the things that, like, we were completely comfortable in that game. and then all of a sudden we're inviting pressure. And luckily, Ross County are very good, so it wasn't like they were carving out chance after chance after chance, but they were coming back into the game and starting to pin us back a bit. And even before they scored, you've got that cracking save from Marshall, for Simon Murray. So they could have scored. I just think when you're so much like we saw it last week when we played them at Easter Road, I think we're a much better team than them. And I think we were showing last night that we were a much better team than them until we just decided we're not going to do it anyway. I'd love to know the reason behind it, John, because they just stopped making simple passes and keeping the ball.
So one of the things that you referenced, I think, was I don't know if it was during this episode, but we definitely talked about it beforehand. Was about one of the reasons that folks said that Jack Ross teams were boring was based on examples like that. So Jack Ross's team was markedly different from this team, but you have the same thing happening on both sides. So why is that? Is it a Hibs thing? Is it a mentality thing? Or is it just a football thing that happens from time to time? And we see it because we're Hibs fans, so we apply it and say it's Hibs.
Lots of teams do it, but some are more susceptible than others. Like the really good teams, then they go, or then they often go 2-1 up with however long to go and just stop playing. Especially against a weaker opponent. Like I think you can understand it. See if we go 2-1 up against Celtic, and you go try and keep it tight, didn't do anything fucking stupid for the last 20 minutes of the game. You can sort of understand it, but I reckon why you would do it when you're so much on top in the game. Where you would just change what you're doing to such an extent that you fall out the game and then eventually end up conceding an equaliser when the game's won.
It's funny, I'm laughing because if you remember was it the semi-final at Hampden where Paul Hanlon opens the scoring, and you're thinking, right, let's keep it tight, and before the smoke had even cleared,
we even kicked off. we really sat down for celebrating it, and it's one each eye. I don't know, and then I suppose we'll move on to the goal that they scored, and I was going to say this is another contentious one, and this is where you like. Last night, I was trying my hardest not to blame the referee, and really, really, really trying because of the conversations that we've had over the last few weeks. And I'm like, you've got to defend it better, right? So Ross County player heads it out. They pick the ball up, steal 15 yards, throw it in. The referee lets all that go, and before you know it, it's 2 each. And I was like, the team only switched on, and Montgomery was talking about it afterwards. And he says, we shouldn't have to think about defending our throw-in. And I kind of got where he was coming from. See if you've seen so obviously that the ball's going out for your throw. And you can, by the way, we're into the last 10 seconds of the game here. You're not going, run and get the fucking ball. You're like, you do that thing where one of you will go over to get it, pick it up, then you drop it and leave it for the next boy to come over because that'll run a few seconds down. They'll go, do like a wee, oh, no, wait, everybody up, push, right, and then they throw it in and the final whistle goes, right, you just run the clock down. There's never thinking, we need to go and defend this because it was so obviously our ball. And I think the players were kind of caught, I kind of like you play to the whistle, but I just think it was so obviously such a wrong decision that the players weren't going, I need to track a runner here or get set for defending a throw-in, and then we ended up caught out by it. I'm not as angry at the players as I was at full time last night.
I still am.
Oh yeah, go for it. Why?
Aye. Because so I get what you're saying there. Like they've maybe no, but one no realised it's their ball. Oh, the boy got the ball and took it. Yuan was with the guy, right? So this was after that.
Yeah.
He was with him, and then he stopped going with him. And then you look at it and you go, right, well, maybe that explains why Cadden and Fish are both in the middle of the fucking box when one should be further over. Right? It's why Cadden should be further over because he's been caught out with it. Fine. Then the shot comes at Marshall doesn't stick a leg out or fuck all. It's like he thinks it's gone past the post. And then Fish, fuck knows what he's doing on the goal line. Like he's just lying there. And the ball trickles past him like a mishit. Goes past Marshall, then Fish. So the only one that I can exclude for the four that I initially done would be Cadden, based on what you tell me.
John, is that reasonable?
I'm laughing, but I'm not. Sorry, I'm not laughing at Colin. I'm just laughing at. I think I described it as clusterfuck comedy of errors in the first half for that goal. And I don't know how Hibs managed to do it, but they managed to better that. So you mentioned the Marshall save for Simon Murray. So last night, I think you saw the best and worst of Marshall. I think we saw the best and worst of Yuan. He's played that ball through for Melida. There was someone in our group chat had said that Yuan had been really good tonight, and I was in the middle of messaging. He's been really good defensively. Like, I'd actually been impressed with his defensive work because it's something he's not been known for. And it's one of the reasons that we speculated that he's been dropped for, because Montgomery gets more of a defensive performance than the other players. But he's played last night and he's having a good game. And then at the end, he's just fucking nowhere. Like, he's not tracking the runner. And with regards to the shot that turns into a goal, like, it's a really poor shot. And I think, if I'm being really kind and really generous, and I know it's something that I'm known for, I think Marshall looks like he goes to plant his feet thinking that there's maybe going to be a shot for the other Ross County player in the box. And I think that rolls on to Will Fish, who looks to then go and steady himself, and maybe his weight's going one way. And that's why it looks like he falls over and lies down in the box, and then it just trickles in. Like, it's a nothing ball. Danda, if he's not meant for the ball to go in that fashion. I don't know, it's like a cross come shot or a ball across the face of the box come shot, and it's just awful. Like, and that's what I was saying about, like, the best and worst of Hibs. Like, we can, I don't know if we compared it, but we referenced the Jack Ross side. Like, if you remember, I think it might have been the COVID season where we had a game in hand and we went up there. And one of the things that Jack Ross's side had become known for at the time was not coming from behind. And we came from behind, and that's what kind of helped spur us on to that third place finish. And you're thinking, fuck, like, lightning struck twice. We've come from behind at Dingwall, and we're going to see the game out. But for 10 seconds of shit football for Hibs at the end.
Yeah. And it's almost like, I was talking, my brother-in-law was up there last night, and he phoned me this morning about it, and he's moaning about Yuan, and I was like, aye. But we know that we've got that in the team, right? The players must know that. So somebody's got to go out there and work harder than them. Because what it brings you at the other end is almost, I was going to say outweighs what he doesn't give back, but last night it was equal, and it was one each, like, for that point of view. But it brings something up there. And I used to always want, like, when Riordan was called the lazy one and all that, I was always like, but they want Riordan back here. And I'm a wee bit like that with Yuan. So I want somebody in the team to work hard and cover it. Like, somebody in the midfield or something goes, come on, he's not getting back. I'll go and do it for him. And we just didn't have that. We just leave him exposed continually to these situations.
It was such a mad way to end the game. I was watching it on delay, and I knew Ross County had equalised before I'd seen it. And I'm looking at it, I'm looking at the clock and where the ball was and how we're in control of the situation. I started going, how have we not won from this position? It blew my mind that we could manage to chuck away the 3 points for there. You know, you're past the 7 minutes, you've got the ball. Like, we had it as a goal kick at the time. Marshall
got booked, by the way, immediately for time wasting. When does that ever happen?
Why does he get on his? That was another one of the things. Because it was like Malida's booking was a nonsense. Marshall's booking. We spoke about it. Was at the Youth Champions League game we went to watch, Colin, and the referee booked the Hibs player immediately for the time wasting. He was like, and the boy wasn't even really time wasting, but the referee was just like, "Ah, fuck it, we're not having it." And I was like, "Oh, I love a bit of that. I'd love to see referees just stamp out, because I hate time wasting." But be consistent again. Like, how many times we watched the referee go up and give the goalie a wee talking to him? Aye, didn't
Livingston are holding us to 0-0. He's not getting booked, or the heat knocks in getting dealt with. You know what I mean?
Get a point to the watch. They'll go and have a word with them, and we'll all be fucking going, book him, and they didn't book him unless it's David Marshall. It might have happened with
Oxley used to get booked.
Oxley. Aye, it blew my mind how low the threshold is for us getting booked for time wasting compared to the teams against us. But anyway, that's just me getting paranoid and tinfoil hat again.
It's just pointing out, like, well, how the fuck has he been booked for one bit of time wasting? One bit. And that's probably why we ended up with an extra minute and a half on the 7 he had already added.
Aye, crazy. I mean, the other thing, like, 'cause I can't even moan about the 7 minutes, but my Hibs had that 7 minutes as well. That's no 7 minutes for Ross County to score. Hibs could have scored in that 7 minutes. It's not like you've gone, oh fucking hell, referee, you're making us defend for 7 minutes. We chose to do that. We could have went and used that to kill the game and put it to bed, and we didn't. So whether it was 7 minutes, 10 minutes, or 5 minutes, it doesn't really matter. We have to play that time.
See, when you put it into that context, like what I'd said about Lefondre when he scored and 13 minutes remaining regulation, so when you add on that additional 7, you can go, that's 20 minutes of Hibs stopping doing what they're doing.
Mhm.
Or stopping doing what they were doing before.
And we saw in the first half when we
it's-
didn't do what we're doing, they can score.
Yeah.
But we're the worst enemies.
But I wonder, like, I'm starting to focus my attentions a wee bit more on next season, but I wonder if players like Marshall, because I don't know, someone pointed out somewhere that there's a number of goals that he's cost us this season. Got to be looking at a new keeper surely for next year. And with regards to Yuan, like, I really do enjoy the positive stuff that he adds to the game.
Mm-hmm.
But if he scores 2 goals last night and sets up a third and he concedes 1, then that's probably all right. But last night was 1 for 1. Like, does Montgomery want that in his team next year?
Well, I think there's a lot between now and next year that needs to change. But then I think it's important not to throw the baby out with the bathwater with this, because you're 10 seconds. Like, if the referee blows up, no, literally, I'm talking about exploding, right? If he blows up for full time, 7 minutes beyond the 90, and we win 2-1, we're all talking about how good it was that we came back the second half and we showed the character, the fight, the dig.
Yeah.
We go back into the game. What does that say about the team, the spirit, how well Monty's got them playing, the run staying? Like we're adding another good performance onto that sort of post St Mirren group of games. But you've got that 10 seconds, which totally changes the complexion, but it doesn't really change the fact that those things happened. Like, we did show the good character in that to get back into the game. I find it so hard to assess a game like that, because you can't legitimately say if that never happened, because it did happen. So you then say, well, is that a flaw in the character? Do you ignore the fact that we showed good character to get back into it because we never showed enough character to see it out? Like, how does it work when you lose a goal like that?
Where does that leave us then in terms of how we feel about the game and how we feel about Hibs and getting into this top 6 and trying to get in the top 4, etc.? Like, are we just, so like you said there, like, you didn't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater, but you're also dealing with the reality of the drop points, and I think, I don't know if it's 8 or 9 games, and is that 18 points then that we're worse off because we're not been able to see out a game, or we've been behind and come back to draw 2-2.
I read somewhere, I can't remember if it was on the message board today, it's 9 2-2 draws, and was it 5 or 6 of them? I can't remember the exact numbers. So 5 or 6 were for a winning position.
Yeah.
So they're to me points thrown away. Ross County twice. The Hearts one, because actually think about it, the Hearts one's the one you remember coming out of feeling all right about a 2-2 because you've come back to it. The rest were all close games that we've kind of, like Kilmarnock we threw away his first game in charge. Ross County home and away. There's too many of them, and that's a load of points. You add the points on, we're comfortable 4th place. Comfortable.
We've not scored 3 in the league game this season.
I know.
Which is unusual. Like,
everyone as well. Aye.
When you consider at the start of the season how much we were singing the praises of the forward line that we had, to have no scored more than 2 goals in a league game is mental. Is that 4th put to bed then? Like, I thought we had to win last night for us to finish 4th. I think it's still arithmetically possible, but
I actually think we're struggling for top 6 now. I think that at one point last night we were only 5 points off 4th place and 4 points off 5th place.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, it's on. And then next thing you're like, we're not even in the top 6 now. And then you look at the games we've got left and I think Dundee are a point ahead of us. I think that's right.
Yeah,
and
1 point ahead.
We've both got Rangers to play in the final three, so that's them both written off effectively. Then you go, right, it's down to 2 games that we need to outscore them, and not outscore, but outperform.
Get more points in them.
I've not looked at all of Dundee's fixtures. I just looked at the next one because it forms part of our next 6, and they play Rangers on Sunday. I think it's 5 o'clock kickoff. We've got Livy, so you're thinking on paper we should beat Livingston, and Rangers should beat Dundee, and that should put us back at the 6th. And then you start looking at the remaining games rather than, right, well, that's it, it's all done. But the point remains that I think getting that, like making up those 2 points on Killie and St Mirren, that's definitely made things a lot more challenging. But maybe
the week
other
after,
teams.
They're away to St Johnstone the week after, we're away at Ibrox, and then they're at home at Motherwell when we're at home at St Johnstone. And then we're away to Motherwell when they play Aberdeen away. So actually quite similar fixtures, same teams. Motherwell and St Johnstone both got to play Rangers. It's just Livingston and Aberdeen is the difference between us.
It's nip and tuck, really, isn't it? Like, I was quite confident in being top 6 up until last night, and if we'd won, I would have been pretty sure we were going to do it. Now, not so sure. I think 4th is definitely gone now.
Definitely.
Definitely. I think there's any way we're pulling that deficit back now. But again, I think if we'd won and kept the momentum going, and I kind of say like momentum, but just off the back of defeat to Rangers and kind of obviously we beat Ross County and drew with Hearts, but it felt like we were building a wee bit of momentum, and that sort of late goal last night just takes the stuffing out of it. Right, we're out of time, so just going to pick up a couple of the talking points that have been sent in, and then we'll go on and record Week at Hibs. So if you're a subscriber, and when I say subscriber, I mean somebody who subscribes on Hubwave or Patreon or as a YouTube member. There's a wee bit of confusion this week with folk thinking if you just subscribe to our YouTube channel, you get the extra content. You don't. You have to either be a YouTube member or subscribe on Hubwave or Patreon to get that. It's well worth it. But we're going to go and record Week at Hibs right after this. We're going to pick out a couple of talking points, and then we'll go and record that for subscribers. And if you don't subscribe, you'll hear it, but it'll be next week. Right. We've got Andrew Brown said, why do we constantly stop playing in the games where we have a lead? We've drawn 2-2 9 times this season. 5 of those we've led and lost equalisers. We do it time and time again. Who is making that call to stop playing and sit back? Colin, I think you kind of covered that already. Richard Harkis said, a winning team goes on after taking the lead and finishes the job. A Monty team sits back, takes their foot off the gas, invites pressure and gets another 2-2 draw. At what point does he learn, and why do we have to be the place where he learns the basics? It's just not good enough. And Ross Allam said, 6 defenders on the park at the end of the game, and we end up with a 3v2 in the box from the throw-in. 99% of teams don't concede in that situation. 8th 2-2 draw of the season. And the last one...
Ross needs to get stats right.
Aye.
That was 9.
Last one. David Burns said 7 minutes added. Not sure why. Goal Ross County 90 plus 8. No saying that SFA are against us, but recent weeks haven't been in our favour for sure. We should still see that game out though after going 2-1 up. Thank you very much if you sent us in talking points. And sorry we run out of time to get through them all. Like I say, if you're a subscriber, don't press stop on your video or your podcast player just now, because we'll go straight into Week at Hibs. If you don't subscribe, that's the end of the episode. Thanks very much for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee.